It is Friday once again. It's July the 25th of 2025. Good evening, y'all. And there wasn't a heck of a lot going on in the swamp today, but there's still plenty to talk about, though. Republicans, they continue touting the one big beautiful bill, while Democrats take jabs at Medicare cuts and tax relief for the wealthy. And the GOP Ways and Means Committee, they went to Las Vegas, and they're out there speaking with locals about the one big beautiful bill. And of course, Democrats, they tagged along to push back in any way they can. The DNC slipped on a banana peel today by blaming Trump for the high grocery prices until the White House responded, and then the DNC promptly deleted their post, so we'll check that out. Every newborn in America now receives a $1,000 investment account geared toward improving the prospect of generational wealth. And also, President Trump signed H.R. 517 into law today, the Filing Relief for Natural Disasters Act, which we'll take a look at. And also, Australia, they just began accepting U.S. beef into their market. Also coming up, we will be reminded of the number of border encounters in June of 2025 versus June 2024. And the numbers, they might shock you, but on the other hand, maybe they won't. A massive container ship was also just reflagged with the Stars and Stripes, making it the largest container ship in the United States. And the San Francisco Chronicle, they are spreading propaganda claiming the United States deports American citizens. So the Department of Homeland Security, they clean up that rumor. And there's a whole lot more to get into, so I'm just going to dive right in. And we'll start here with the Ways and Means Committee. Live now, and this isn't live currently. This was live a few hours ago, but you could still go to their profile and check this out. It's a couple hours long, but it's the Ways and Means Committee traveling out to Las Vegas, Nevada, to hear from Americans about the one big beautiful bill. They invite a bunch of locals in to a large room, and they just do Q&A back and forth, or they just kind of ask regular people what they think about it and how it helps them or how it might not help them. For example, from Rep. Michelle Fishback, the Ways and Means GOP went to the heart of the service industry to hear about the impact of the one big beautiful bill. Attendees who told us that the tax provisions would benefit them include a restaurant server, a DoorDash driver, a paint foreman, a local retiree, a director of manufacturing, a mother of 4 who owns a small business as well. And then there was one attendee who told us that this bill would hurt the working class, who happens to be a Democrat state senator who is in the middle of running for higher office. Now, as soon as I grab my earbuds, we can get started with this. I haven't seen this yet, so we're going to watch this together. So hopefully it's as enjoyable as it can be. It's not too long. It's only 4 minutes.
Mr. Chair, and I just want to say thank you to the witnesses.
So
and thank you
speaking
to our
is
hosts,
Rep.
because
Michelle
this is
Fishback.
wonderful, and I am really excited to be here, and I do have to take the opportunity to address the issue of town halls, because the other side likes to say, "Oh, you have to hold a town hall," but
they always
for them
do.
it's political
Democrats
theater.
love their town halls.
It's just about political theater. I
course it
talk
is.
to my constituents. I go to their businesses. I go to the
That's how you
nursing
get her
homes.
done.
I talk
That's how
to
you do
them,
it.
and
You
they
gotta talk to your
do
constituency.
appreciate this bill. So
Everyday people
you can
get the
take the
feedback.
political theater and have town halls in everybody else's district, but we're about talking to our constituents.
Yeah, very carefully crafted town halls that involve people who very selectively stand up and then they read these little index cards. They're carefully crafted questions to those who are sitting there. It's as if it was scripted. It's as if town halls are scripted from top to bottom, from beginning to end.
Constituents, one-on-one, and not in some big auditorium having people yell at people. That's not
Well, everybody's reading index
constructive.
cards the
And
entire
I will
time.
say we have had, I wanted to say thank you to Chairman Smith, because we have been having these hearings across the country. And one of the first ones was in my district, in a
Good.
small town, at a
All right.
farm.
All right.
And
Everyday
there was
people?
all kinds of people there. As a matter of fact,
MAGA country.
I served in the Minnesota Senate, and the former
Well, maybe not.
Democrat majority
Minnesota.
leader was one of the
I don't know.
witnesses
Minnesota's
that I
awfully damn
invited,
blue up there.
so that he could be there to testify on mining. So
There's gotta be some
we
red areas in Minnesota.
we are listening to everybody, but most importantly, right now, I see witnesses in front of me that are saying absolutely, and regular people. And I think Mr. Kostoff asked a little bit about billionaires and millionaires. And,
Of course.
But I see
Always the
regular
billionaires and the
people
millionaires.
who are going to be helped by this. It is not fake. You are going to see real money in your pockets.
Yeah.
You are going to see,
Yeah.
and that's what you are
will.
telling us. And so I appreciate that, because we have a whole lot of regular people saying this is a good bill, and then we
Yeah.
have one politician
It's not as bad
saying
as it
it's
is
not.
good.
And I believe the regular people here. that this is going to help them. And
It will.
So no matter what the critics
Almost
say,
certainly.
it's the regular people that we want to talk to. And I appreciate all the stories, and I wish I could go through every one of them because there's so much good in this bill. You know, we're talking about the no tax on overtime. We're talking about the no tax on tips. We're talking about the
I mean, to be fair, the bill was already passed. It's already done. It's already over with. It's already, I mean, not over with. It's already been implemented. However, it's still good to get feedback from people and also to let people know a lot of the specifics that are in the bill, because how many pages was the one big beautiful bill? It's probably in the thousands of pages, probably, because they usually are. Which if I'm against anything with this bill, the thing that I'm against is just the process on jamming tons and tons of bills into one just big giant bill, and they just call it the big beautiful bill. I think instead every single individual piece of legislation should be passed one by one. Well, that'll take forever. It'll just take so long. We'll be tied up forever. I don't care. Well, then you got to be more selective with the bills that you decide to bring to the House floor, and not just dump all of them into one big giant super bill. I think that's bullshit. I think that should be absolutely outlawed completely. But they've just been. It seems like that's all they do. It seems like they don't really pass individual bills anymore. They just jam everything together.
Tax deduction on Social Security. We haven't even mentioned. You know,
because
the
you know
tax
there's got to be some things in this bill that aren't
the
good.
Manufacturing
There's always at least
and
something.
the kinds of deductions we're doing there. The 199A deduction.
But of course, the politicians, they'll say, well, that's how we get Democrats on board, even though probably none of them voted for this bill anyway, or over in the Senate. That's how we bargain. That's how we get bills passed. We have to throw some bloat in there. We have to throw some bullshit in there that Democrats want. That's no good for anybody, because otherwise they won't vote for it at all, and it just won't get passed, and we won't get the wonderful things that we're trying to get to the American people. We won't get those things to them without throwing in some bad things too, but at least we got more good things than bad things this time. I mean, that's no way to legislate,
small businesses. So we're not even talking about all of the wonderful things that are in this bill.
That's our system,
and
I guess.
I certainly don't want to go over time, but I do want to just ask Mrs. Jones, you mentioned the child tax
Well,
credit.
your little
and I wanna
microphone's
know
still green,
what
so I don't
that
think you're out of
extra
time.
money is really going to mean for your family.
The child tax credit, what does that money mean for your family?
Means a lot.
Means a lot?
We have kids at elementary all the way up to high school. So it gives us an opportunity to, we have a daughter that she could start driving soon. So we'll be able to help her purchase a car. So we want to show her work ethic. So when we're going to match what she brings to the table. We're not just going to hand her money.
Oh,
it's
that's a
all
good
about
idea.
work ethic.
That's a good
So
idea.
when people are sitting here saying,
I mean, when I turned 16, I was 17 actually by the time I got my driver's license, but I got my first car when I was like 16 and a half, but I couldn't drive it for a few months because I wasn't licensed just yet. I mean, I learned how to drive it. I had my learner's permit, but it was an $800 car. It was only $800. It was like an old hatchback from 1989, and it was a little stick shift, and probably the best, one of my favorite cars that I ever had because it was a stick shift. That's what I learned how to drive on. And my parents, they bought me that car, but I was responsible for the insurance and for the gas. And if I couldn't pay the insurance for the month, I wasn't driving it because I legally wasn't allowed to if I didn't pay my insurance.
saying that there's not people out
Different
there
families, they got
working,
different things.
The one big beautiful
Different
bill is taking
bargains.
from people out there. It's not taking from people, it's taking from the lazy. That's the problem. They want to hand hard taxpayer money to the lazy, illegal aliens and
Yes, they
say,
do.
hey, you don't matter.
No, I mean, I would say, to be kind of fair, not all of them are lazy per se. A lot of them are. A lot of them are definitely lazy. A lot of them are here for economic opportunity. A lot of them are here for criminal opportunity. That's for damn sure. But I would say more, there's a lot of American citizens that are lazy that have been on welfare, food stamps, Medicare, Social Security, disability, when they have no business being on it. When they're able-bodied, their fingers work, they can type, their voice works, they can talk, which means they can do a whole slew of different office jobs out there. And thanks to the Americans with Disabilities Act, if they're confined to a wheelchair, guess what? They can still get into the office building because we accommodate all citizens with disabilities. So we can accommodate you in any way we can. And with that in place, even with people with disabilities, they go to work. So I think that's one thing that I'm really glad. I don't know if that was exactly in the One Big Beautiful Bill. It probably was, wasn't it? The maximum for food stamps is 2 years. that they just passed. That was probably in the bill. I assume it
So
was.
I'm not going to raise my child to say you don't matter. We're showing her worth ethic. And with the big, beautiful bill is showing her that too. And in regards to the statement about my husband's employees, yes, we struggle to help with
Well,
the
she could also
with
find an amazing
making
man to
sure
be a
their
housewife, too.
benefits are
There's nothing
paid.
wrong with that.
But coming here today,
Opt
they
for
were
the nuclear family.
very proud. All 5 of them. And 3 of them are Democrats. And they said give them hell. And here we are.
Oh, uh-oh.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that.
All right. Okay. That was actually kind of entertaining. All right. So this is also from the Ways and Means Committee. In Las Vegas, the Ways and Means Committee is currently hearing from tipped employees, overtime workers, and seniors about how the historic tax relief in the One Big Beautiful Bill benefits them. You have to be extremely out of touch to look these Americans in the eye and tell them you're wrong. But that is exactly what Democrats are doing, such as Rep. Jimmy Gomez. Tune in. I'm live with the Ways and Means Committee calling out Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill law for what it really is, a betrayal of working families in favor of billionaire tax breaks. Okay. And let's see. And he was responding to Republicans are gambling away America's future in Las Vegas. Of course, the Ways and Means Democrats, the other Ways and Means Committee, the other side of it. And of course, I'm sure he's probably getting absolutely torched in the comments. We're calling you out for your lies, or your lies for money, Jimmy. And, oh, maybe not. Maybe there isn't a whole lot down here. Been illegally giving Americans benefits to illegal aliens. 20 states are suing to continue giving illegal aliens our American benefits. How is that good for Americans? Oh, man, he even brought the receipts. So, yeah, so Democrats are there. Of course, they're tagging along. I mean, they're a part of the Ways and Means Committee, too. I mean, they should be invited. Yeah, they're not going to do a whole lot of good, I'm sure. I mean, there's not a whole lot to push back against. It's just a lot of propaganda happening all over social media with the rumor that Medicare is being defunded. People are getting kicked off of their health care, which they're not. That's absolute bullshit. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. So this is from Rep. Adrian Smith in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Republicans made pro-family tax relief permanent, extended pro-growth TCJA policies, and reinforced long-term strength of safety net programs. See my remarks from today's Ways and Means GOP field hearing. So this one's a little shorter.
Leading up to the passage of this bill that was worked on literally for several years, especially when you look at what we did in 2017 during President Trump's first term and being able to do a lot of good things for the economy. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, the economy heading into...
They did. I remember in 2017 when they did that tax relief bill. I don't remember what the name of the bill was now, but I remember looking at, or maybe it was 2017, 2018, somewhere around there, where we got a lot of tax relief back then during Trump's first term. And I overnight, like from one week to the next, I was getting an extra $50 on my paycheck because they were taking $50 less from my federal income taxes. So I saw that firsthand, and I don't make very much money. So $50, that goes a ways for me.
COVID, that speaks for itself. And to see many of these provisions, very pro-family provisions, due to expire, we worked hard to extend those, hopefully make them permanent, and sifted through all sorts of data. What's effective? What's most productive in the economy?
Main things they should make permanent
even
is
before
removing
that, I think
taxes.
it's important to note that President Obama, when he was still president, he advocated for reducing the corporate tax rate. Because he watched U.S. companies move out of our country into other tax jurisdictions because we had the highest corporate tax rate in the developed world. And we solved that in 2017 because after we passed that bill, we didn't have any companies.
What was the Boston Tea Party over? What was it, 3%? Is that what the Brits were trying to tax us? It was just like a lousy little 3%. And now, I mean, our taxes are just out of the fucking wazoo, all over the place. Capital gains tax is what, 35%? Which they also charge you when you sell your house, or the death tax, or, I mean, they tax you a million different ways, especially even with the same income. Every time you transfer income from one entity to the next, they tax it. Like every single time. It's ridiculous.
Do what hundreds and even more
got to get rid of the taxes
before.
Much as possible. Shrink the government.
looking at what we needed to do this time and wanted to be fiscally responsible about it, I think it's important that we reflect on the fact that we, through our efforts, are making the safety net stronger. Medicaid, for example, limiting Medicaid benefits to those who are here legally.
Yeah, that's a good
and
thing.
Who truly
and that pay. Oh shit! Fuck, man, I didn't mean to do that. Or the fuck I was. I meant to pause it. But that's what Democrats are referring to when people are losing their health care. When people are, oh my God, these poor innocent people, these poor innocent quote unquote Americans are getting kicked off of Medicare. Yeah, illegal aliens are. They're getting kicked off of it because they should have never been on it in the first fucking place because they haven't paid a dime into it. Meanwhile, we've got lots of Americans that have paid into it for years and years. And I mean, I haven't taken a dime from Medicare. I've paid a shitload into it over the years.
2017, because
all right, let me
through our efforts, are making the safety net stronger.
I'll just leave it there.
Medicaid, for example, limiting Medicaid benefits to those who are here legally and who truly need assistance. We've strengthened that position. When it comes to nutrition and the error rates, and Senator, I appreciate your perspective. In the bureaucratic nature, we should always be concerned about bureaucracy causing problems, perhaps. But we have states with single-digit error rates, and we had states with more than 50% error rates.
Holy shit. I have a feeling they're blue.
And that wasn't using their own money. That was everyone else's federal tax dollars, and maybe a little bit of theirs, proportionate to the taxes that they pay.
And it was probably, a lot of those instances were probably not on accident.
But I think it's important that we have the expectation as federal
fraud,
taxpayer dollars are involved, that the various states are truly making a difference and making sure that those dollars end up in the places they need to go.
Amen.
And we have succeeded in this bill, the reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill that our country has been needing.
All right. Well, that's good. So, yeah, they're doing their thing in Las Vegas. I'm sure they're probably enjoying on the taxpayers' dime, the flights there, probably the hotels. I'm sure that they're not squeaky clean either. I mean, they picked Las Vegas for a reason because you can have a lot of fun in Las Vegas. Obviously, they're working right there in the moment. But, of course, they're not going to be sitting there at the table for 48 straight hours. They're going to go out there and have some fun in Las Vegas. All right. So, anyway, from Secretary Brooke Rollins, we are smiling with you, Mr. President, at U.S. Trade Rep. Thrilled to see Australia open its market to U.S. beef. So grateful for President Trump's leadership, resulting in the unprecedented breaking down of trade barriers and ensuring our ranchers will have the opportunity to feed the world. Let's go. So, this is from President Trump's Truth Social account. After many years, Australia has agreed to accept American beef for a long time, and even though we are great friends, they actually banned our beef. Now we are going to sell so much to Australia because this is undeniable and irrefutable proof that U.S. beef is the safest and best in the entire world. The other countries that refuse our magnificent beef are on notice. All of our nation's ranchers, who are some of the hardest working and most wonderful people, are smiling today, which means I am smiling too. Let's keep the hot streak going. It's the golden age of America. Now, one comment I'll just throw out there. Perhaps Australia may have cut off U.S. beef at some point in the past, maybe because we were possibly selling it at a cheaper rate than Australian ranchers were able to sell their beef for. Maybe we flooded the market at one point, and that might have possibly been why they cut us off. That way they could just compete within their own country. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But what about the cost of our beef here, though? Our beef is extremely expensive. Before COVID, it was fairly reasonable. I don't have the numbers offhand right now, but I do know that if you go to your local grocery store, I'm sure everybody knows this, if you go there to buy a nice cut of steak or a T-bone steak, it's what, $25-30 a pound now. It's absolutely insane. So if we have so much beef to the point where we just have to start dumping it into other countries because we're overflowing with beef, then why the hell is our beef so expensive right now? And I know what it is. It's just simple greed, because there's a lot of companies out there that the supply chain shortage that happened during COVID, they raised the prices because certain supplies, not all supplies, probably not even most supplies probably didn't really fall, but they raised their prices anyway. And as I gave an example in one of my last episodes, Hershey's admitted that the cost of their supplies, their goods that goes into making their chocolate did not increase in price, and there was no shortage in sugar or whatever else that they put into their chocolate, but they raised their prices anyway. They admitted to that. So, anyway, whatever. So, this is from Sheldon Whitehouse. In 2024, the CEO of Starbucks took home $98 million. Oh, boo. So the typical Starbucks worker makes less than $15,000. I mean, that's their choice. If they don't want to make that, then don't work at Starbucks. If we say the average Starbucks drink is $5, dude, when was the last time you were at Starbucks? Look, I haven't been to Starbucks in almost 9 years. It's been 8 years since I was inside of Starbucks, but even I know it's more than $5. We were making that joke, 10, 15 years ago that Starbucks should change their name to $5. And that was way before COVID when that joke was being made. So, and I did look this up, not in the last week, it was a few weeks ago, but the average cost for one drink at Starbucks was something like $7.50 or maybe $8. And the average person spends about $10 because some people, they just get basic coffee, and then other people, they'll get a drink and then they'll get food and all that other stuff, but it averages out to about $10 a customer. So, but whatever. So anyway, the CEO should buy 19 million, or the CEO could buy 19.5 million coffees with the difference. Trump's big, beautiful for billionaires bill gives him a tax break. And I do know that he is getting absolutely torched in the comments down here, because I had a quick peek. I didn't read very much, but I just looked at just a couple of them. But none of your problems are because someone else is a billionaire. Apparently this dude, he's worth millions of dollars, and he earned his quote unquote earned his millions of dollars while in Congress. And somebody makes a mention of that down here somewhere. How much are you worth again on a government salary? Sit down. How did Senator Whitehouse get a net worth of $20.6 million on a congressional salary of $174,000? Well, probably just like Nancy Pelosi did. Probably a lot of legal insider trading. Are you planning to redistribute your wealth to the poor people you represent? Please go ahead and be the leading example. Quiver Quantitative suggests a net worth of $20.6 million as of July 4th, 2025, with approximately $17.3 million that was made in publicly traded assets, ranking him as the 51st wealthiest member of Congress. So Starbucks should just close down, which would happen without leadership. Yeah, absolutely. And if you got a problem with it, take it up with Starbucks. I mean, the shareholders or the stakeholders, the board, the top people in Starbucks, they're the ones that set the CEO's salary. It's not the federal government. It's not. I don't even know who the hell he's trying to point that at. The big beautiful bill. It's not the fucking Bill's fault that he's making that much money. Dude, this is a way that it's been for years and years. CEOs, yeah, they've made way too much money for a long time. And I get that they should be among the top salary earners for a company, because being the CEO, you've got a lot of risk and liability on your shoulders because you represent the company and everything wrong that it could potentially do. I mean, all that falls on your shoulders. So, but making $92 million a year, yeah, it's a little excessive. I mean, but that's like I said, the either the stakeholders or the shareholders or whoever, there's people up there at the top. They're the ones that give him his salary. So it's up to them. All right. I don't want to get too little inappropriate on here. I mean, we are on YouTube after all. The barista makes you drink. The CEO makes the stock price. Only one can afford to live. Thanks for saying what more of Congress should. Yeah, whatever. Everybody's got their own opinion. Why are CEOs unwilling to share the wealth with the people who actually made them their wealth? Because it's America and they don't have to. I mean, look, if you want to be wealthy to that degree, then go be a CEO then. I mean, nobody's stopping you. I mean, that's what capitalism's all about. If you want to get really rich, there's many, many, many different ways that you can go about doing it. Of course, most people fail at it. But we've all got the opportunity. I'm sure he wasn't born making $90 million a year. He wasn't born a CEO. And there's probably a decent chance that his parents are probably just middle-class people. All right. So anyway, that was that. And this is this. Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock. Trump's cuts are hitting black women especially hard. Haphazard firings are already having dire consequences for communities across the country. We cannot allow this to continue. So from MSNBC, 300,000 black women have left the labor force in 3 months. It's not a coincidence. For decades, the public sector has been a lifeline for black women shut out of economic opportunity. It is no surprise that Trump's federal downsizing targeted them first, explains gender economist Katsia Roy. And yeah, I might want to tread carefully here with these comments because there might be some sketchy, some well, not sketchy, but some spicy comments. Apparently, they don't mind. Donald Trump's approval rating surges among black voters. I remember reading about this. Trump's approval ratings are trending down, with several recent polls showing the president's approval rating at an all-time low. All right, well, that sounds a little contradictory, but surging among black voters, though. What a flat-out lie. Senator Warnock, pastor 300,000 black women leaving the labor force has nothing to do with Trump's cuts. Everything to do with Bidenomics, inflation, and the collapse of public trust in Democrat-run institutions. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just, it's simply DEI. I mean, a lot of it is, it's just that simple. And I don't have the statistics in front of me, but, oh man, I can't remember what it is. It's a really high percentage of black women today are either enrolled in college or have college degrees. So the whole 300,000 that are leaving the labor force, a lot of it is probably tied to the federal government, because the federal government, they're in the process of downsizing, and that's a good thing. But I don't know, according to the late great Kevin Samuels, there's two main industries that black women work in. One is the federal government, and the other one is retail, I believe. I believe it's retail, which I'm sure probably includes like realty, not just working like in an anchor store in the mall. I mean, like any kind of retail across everything. So, all right. But anyway, you can check this out on his post. I'm not going to get too far down in those comments because, yeah, there's some that gets a little hot and heavy down there in those comments. But I figured that should be at least addressed for but a moment. So from Senator Ron Johnson, DEI. Oh my God, dude. I should have read that a little more carefully. So DNI, Tulsi Gabbard is providing documentation proving that the collusion was between President Obama, his henchmen, and their co-conspirators in the media. They fabricated the lie and created the political turmoil that exists to this day. They are the danger to our democracy by conducting their war against it. Yeah, I mean, Barack Obama is really bad for our country. We are finding that out the hard way as the years roll on. But here, let's listen to this.
Your reaction now that Gabbard has
that's loud. Oh my God, my bad. Holy shit.
Released all of this and is sending a criminal referral to the DOJ.
Well, first of all, it's obvious the collusion that occurred was between President Obama, his henchmen, Democrats in Congress, and the leftist legacy media. They were co-conspirators. They continue to be co-conspirators. They were the individuals that were engaged in warfare against our democracy. They were the danger. They are the danger to our democracy. So again, this has been pretty clear to me. This has been pretty clear to you. I think I really applaud DNI Tulsi Gabbard for releasing more documents that just reaffirm what we've known, what we've already suspected, bring it more to the public's attention. But again, the legacy media, they're not covering this. I get asked questions all the time in the hallways.
Look at this, man, how the tables have turned. Check this out. Senate Republicans call on the DOJ to appoint special counsel in Obama-Russia investigation. Like, we saw the opposite for how many years? Way too many years. And from what I've read, the Tulsi Gabbard has referred the information that she's gathered to the DOJ for at least a criminal probe or a criminal investigation. I don't know what buzzword they attach it to, but supposedly the DOJ is going to start looking into this and see what they can do with it. Do you really think that Barack Obama is going to be indicted on criminal charges? He absolutely should, based on the information that Tulsi Gabbard released. He's clearly responsible for all of this. He was leading the charge into fabricating all this Russia collusion bullshit against President Trump. So I just don't really see that really happening. Of course, that would be a good thing. course, everybody would be screaming, "Oh no, Civil War 2.0." Blah, blah, blah.
What about Epstein? What about Epstein? I don't know anything about Epstein. I know a lot about the Russian collusion hoax.
Yeah, look, that's also a good point too. Look, I want to see the Epstein files too, but I want to see this happen a lot more than that. It's almost as if the whole Epstein situation is kind of a what is that, bait and switch or smoke and mirrors or whatever analogy that might be related to. Not very good with analogies. But I think we should obviously get to the bottom of both. And I mean, they don't have any right to force anybody to have to choose between the two. They absolutely should be getting to the bottom of both of them. But I know Democrats, they're talking about release the Epstein files. That's almost all they've been talking about all week on X. They, like almost every congressional Democrat, they've all just been screaming either against the beautiful bill or release the Epstein files. They're in lockstep. That's just about all they're talking about this week. And that's one of the very, very few things that I find myself agreeing with them on. And there are some Republicans who are saying the same thing for very different reasons, because Democrats think that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files somewhere, which makes absolutely no sense, because why wouldn't have Biden or Kamala Harris during her presidential run or any other Democrat, why didn't they just use that as ammunition to try to prevent Trump from winning 2024? If he was in the Epstein files and if he was in there, black and white, clear as crystal, I mean, I don't know. I just think that releasing the Epstein files would probably hurt Democrats way more than Republicans, because I bet that on those Epstein flight logs or the client lists or what have you, I'm sure there's a lot more people, elites on that list that donate to Democrats as opposed to Republicans.
Why don't you ask me about
what
that?
do I know?
No, we want to know about Epstein. So again, they will not own up to their own complicity in this. They were co-conspirators. They continue to be co-conspirators. And Maria, think of the damage that they have done to this country. The political turmoil they put this country through since
still dealing with it
really
today.
The end of 2016 to the present day, all based on a false narrative, all based on a dirty trick that Hillary Clinton approved, that they knew that Hillary Clinton approved. They knew the Steele dossier was a bunch of crap, and yet they pushed this. The Mueller investigation, Crossfire Hurricane, it continues to this day. Adam Schiff becomes a senator from California. It truly is disgusting how they get away with this. But again, it's a co-conspiracy, and the legacy, the leftist legacy, corporate media has a lot of power to this day.
Yep, they certainly do. And they're supposed to be the voice for the people, not working, including with the government. But they absolutely were. All of them were. They were all doing that. And it does set a precedent if they're not held responsible for it. And they absolutely will do it again, because if it worked the first time, why wouldn't they do it again? So we'll just have to see how it plays out. I have a feeling, though, if they don't start digging stuff out or digging up stuff very quickly, you're going to start seeing a lot of politicians who are going to try to distance themselves from that, because we have another election coming up next year, so we have to worry about the midterms. So we're going to have to deal with all that bullshit, too. It's really, really frustrating. All right, so from Rep. Sharice Davids, another Democrat, if I'm not mistaken, she is. Working parents shouldn't have to choose between paying the bills and paying for childcare. My legislation caps costs, boosts worker pay, and puts Kansas families first. And, I mean, it's only 28 seconds. I'm sure it's probably just some commercial ad. I actually didn't plan on playing it, but I've played everything up to this point, so might as well play it. It's right here in front of me.
Families access childcare on a local and national level. Kansas Representative Sharice Davids helped reintroduce the Child Care for Working Families Act this week. It proposes a cost cap for the care at 7% of a family's income and increases wages for child care and Head Start workers. According to Child Care Aware of America, the national average for child care topped $13,000 last year.
Yep, way, way, way too expensive. But you shouldn't punish small businesses for that, because that's not necessarily the small business's fault. It's not the greed of the child care providers. It's actually the insurance costs that they have to pay, which is astronomical, to say the very least. And that's what she should be going after. She should be going after the insurance companies who are charging insane premiums for child care providers. But she's not. Instead, she wants to do price fixing on child care, which is not good at all. It's not going to incentivize anybody to keep child care centers open. That's for sure. And you know what? Actually, I believe I actually left a comment on here, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Oh, I left a couple. Yeah, so I said capping insurance rates that child care providers must pay. That's the answer. Capping child care costs is not the answer. Don't punish the small business. Punish the giant insurance industry if you can get them out of your pocket. And then this was also mentioned by Doge AI. This AI bot, it seems to reply to pretty much every Congress member who posts on X. And I would assume, to be fair, that it would also reply to every Republican. It's certainly replying to tons of Democrats. So every one of these posts that I open up and check in the comments, this Doge AI thing is here. So it says that, here, let me make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, there we go. Rep. Davids' Child Care for Working Families Act claims to solve affordability, but ignores the root issue: government-driven inflation and regulatory bloat that's made care unattainable. Capping costs at 7% of income? That's just another subsidy scam. Taxpayers foot the bill while bureaucrats expand dependency. The CBO projects this bill alone could add $3.3 trillion to the deficit by 2034 for fucking childcare. Real relief comes from slashing red tape, unleashing energy production to cut living costs, and letting families keep more of their paychecks through pro-growth tax policy. Yeah, we have to try to get to a one working parent household. That's what we really need to get back to. Get back to the nuclear family. Not layering on federal programs that will inevitably ration childcare and inflate prices further. Kansas needs paychecks, not paperwork, and so on. And also, grandparents or older folks in your family who are retired. There's a lot of people who do that. They keep the childcare in the family. Somebody who either is a stay-at-home parent with kids, and if they have the ability to do so, maybe they could watch their sister's kids or their brother's kids or what have you. There's a lot of families that still do that, that are fortunate enough to do that. And the ones who can't, yeah, man, childcare is getting insane. Like $2,000 a month in some cases, $2,500 a month in some cases is absolutely crazy. But I also pointed out, not even the AI points out the obvious. Childcare providers are stuck paying insane insurance premiums, which is a primary driver for high childcare costs. Insurance companies are ruining our country in just about every way. The reason for a lot of these costs across the board, all over the place, cost for housing, the cost for everything, a lot of it has its roots in the fucking insurance companies. All right, so this, let me see. Yeah, we already did that one. Was that on there twice? Oh, no. Okay. All right. I'm just seeing things. So from Homeland Security, the evil of human trafficking cannot be overstated. It's modern-day slavery. By leaving our borders open and even encouraging people to come here illegally, Biden enabled the largest human trafficking operation in modern history. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to eradicate human trafficking operations across the United States, targeting the United States, rather, under the leadership of POTUS, Trump, and Secretary Noem, and working together at every level of government. We can win this fight, and we will. Trump administration hunts down 13,000 migrant kids. I mean, I don't like the way that headline reads. I mean, it sounds like, in a very negative way that they're armed and they're hunting down children. No. Anyway, 13,000 migrant kids after Biden administration lost track of 320,000 of them. Children are being saved. Absolutely a good thing. And I mean, this is not a good thing. The fact that so many of them went missing, and the fact that the Biden administration ever allowed this to happen in the first place, it's horrific on every level. From what we've seen with the Epstein bullshit, on how there were over 1,000 minors that were essentially trafficked there. I mean, is that what Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of? Trafficking or something like that. 320,000. I mean, we're talking 320 times the amount of minors that are just missing. And a sizable percentage of those are probably in some horrific situation. You can kind of see where I'm getting at. So hopefully we can find as many as we can, because they didn't ask to be here. I mean, they're children, for crying out loud. So moving on to the U.S. Capitol Police. This is interesting. So there's an exercise happening on Sunday, July 27th at the Capitol. We will have a routine training exercise on the west front of the U.S. Capitol. Please do not be alarmed if you see emergency vehicles, large numbers of police officers, or hear a loud boom and simulated gunshots for training purposes. So yeah, the shit is about to get crazy up there at the Capitol. All right, so from Mark Wayne Mullen, America's borders are safe again. In June, we had 9,309 encounters. Under Biden, we often saw over 200,000 per month. Luckily, the OBB, the one big beautiful bill, makes Trump policy permanent. We're finishing the border wall, hiring more ICE agents, and boosting detention capacity for mass deportations. And speaking of which, yes, they're Customs and Border Security, ICE, like in any of these agencies, even the Coast Guard, they're trying to get a lot more recruits too. Like everybody's trying to find people. They're trying to find bodies. They're trying to find boots. They're trying to get as many people into these agencies as humanly possible. So I don't know if there's any young men out there who are looking to find a certain direction for a career and they're not sure. This is one thing that you can get into. Serve your country and get paid pretty well, I'm sure. So from Senate Republicans, the Cory Booker School of Social Media, Democrat mentality. So this is in reference to Senator Cory Booker is strengthening Democrats' weak social media muscles 6 months into his stewardship of the Strategic Communications Committee. The New Jersey Democrat has his caucus quadrupling its social media engagement, earning it 15 million new followers and doing appearances with social media influencers whose following far outpaces traditional media. Quote, our caucus was not understanding that we put so much energy into going on MSNBC, but more people are on these devices, Booker tells, I don't even know who this is, Burgess Everett. We've got to start shifting our strategy toward having a digital and media strategy that could break through, that could capture attention. But anyway, that wasn't really what I was getting at here. Actually, let me make this a little bit smaller here so we can see this. So what's this all about? The Cory Booker School of Social Media. That was loud. All right, I'm turning it down. Democrat mentality.
Oh no, like the border crisis.
We see peaceful protests.
I am shaking with fury.
These people are brain dead. Oh yeah, the famous scream. The whole Trump won. So now we're going to completely freak out. Just a sec. Okay. Accidentally adjusted the volume for my background music. I didn't mean to do that. All right. So Doge State. Oh, let's make this bigger. Here we go. It's revealing that the issue where the Western left is most willing to ignore, even blatantly flout, basic democratic principles and public will is redistributing U.S. taxpayer resources abroad and funding the globalist NGO aid complex. They view America as a global piggy bank with nothing but contempt for our people and national interests. Under POTUS and Secretary Rubio, our diplomacy and foreign assistance will always put American interests and the American people first. That's in response to this individual who responded to this individual. So I'll read this one first from this Nicholas Decker dude. Or chick, or I don't even know what, whatever. So how do we ensure humanitarian foreign aid for the future? It's incredibly unpopular with the public, but is, without a doubt, the most important and effective thing the government does. I think the important thing is winning elite opinion and taking it out of the hands of voters. Oh yeah, do ya? So remember that this is what they mean when they say our democracy. Absolutely. So there you have it. And yeah, Doge State decided to make a comment to that nonsense. All right, so this is from Sal Merciolano. Sorry, dude, I'm bad with names. I'm so bad with names. WGOW shipping. So the CGM Phoenix becomes the largest container ship ever to fly the U.S. flag. And this is on gccaptain.com. Uh-oh. No, come on. Don't paywall me. All right, good. So French shipping group CMA CGM marked a major milestone with the official reflagging of the CMA CGM Phoenix under the U.S. flag in Charleston, South Carolina. At 9,300 TEU capacity, the CMA CGM Phoenix becomes the largest container ship ever to sail under the American flag. The Neo Panamax vessel, previously registered in Singapore, measures 1,079 feet long and 151 feet wide. Damn. With a gross tonnage of 110,000 GT gross tonnage, 110,000 tons, and summer deadweight capacity of about 130,000 tons. It will employ 42 American mariners working in rotation with 21 crew members on board at any given time. That is crazy. That's a big-ass container ship. So that was news today. I think it was, technically yesterday, but it's in the news. It's in the news. They tweeted this out today, so a little earlier this morning. All right, so moving on to Homeland Security. ICE does not deport U.S. citizens. Here are the facts. And before I go further with that, let me just start here with the San Francisco Chronicle. And it says, Stockton-born Miguel Sylvester has spent 26 years haunted by a wrongful deportation. An apparent error by the Immigration Service put him on notice of another potential removal. So, wrongful deportation, 26 years. I'm not great with math, but wouldn't that be during the Bill Clinton era? When the Democrats were running shit? But anyway, it says this man is a U.S. citizen by birth. Why did ICE mark him for deportation again? Well, they're saying false, another lie. I'm not going to get into the comments. But anyway, I'm going to read the response from Homeland Security. Here are the facts. In 1999, this man was deported because he claimed to be a Mexican citizen without any legal status to remain in the U.S. He re-entered the U.S. at an unknown date and location. In 2004, he was placed in immigration proceedings, and it was discovered that he was a U.S. citizen, and the removal case was terminated. This individual has no active immigration case and is not a target of ICE. Once again, the media is shamefully peddling a false narrative in an attempt to demonize our ICE law enforcement agents who are already facing an 830% surge in assaults against them. So, yep, just trying to correct the record, as they constantly need to do, because there's just always fake, false propaganda coming from the left-wing media. So next up, from the GOP, DNC deletes X post attempting to blame Trump for high grocery prices after the White House respond. And this is from Fox News. Let's check this out.
They were saying that all of these prices have gone up in 2025. That's what the headline read. But when you read the graph, the highest points were during Joe Biden's administration.
Oh, yeah.
And
look at this shit.
So this is the White House's response. You can see they highlighted it in red. When it was the highest, it was under Joe Biden.
Right. So they deleted it off. So
they deleted it.
Yeah, the Democrats deleted it.
They deleted it. Own goal by the Democratic Party. So,
for example, man.
They say a lot of dairy prices are down, right? Eggs are down 53%, something ridiculously low. But meat is high. Yeah. So the president's got to focus on that. And guess what the president did yesterday? He got Australia to buy our beef for the first time. Yeah. So he's constantly moving.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, that doesn't make a lot of sense. If we have such an oversupply of beef to the point where we're going to start supplying Australia, why the fuck is our beef so expensive then? Why is it so expensive? If we have a really high supply of beef that's way outpacing the demand that we have for beef, then why the hell is it so expensive? Whatever. I'm no expert on that. But yeah, that was hilarious. Let me just jump in here to rapid response. Let me see if I can find that graph. It's got to be up here near the top of their account, I'm assuming. Let me see if I can find it. Man, they're posting a lot. They're actually posting a lot today. Zoom out a little bit here. See if I can find it a little more quickly. Oh, man. 6 hours ago. 6 hours. 8 hours. Man, they got a bunch of clips on Trump. I didn't see that earlier. Let's see. 10 hours. Where the hell's that graph? Oh, here it is. Here we go. There we go. Actually, it was probably in that original post. That I did notice that there was a link there, whatever. But anyway, this is it. So U.S. grocery prices reached record highs in 2025. Prices are higher today than they were on July of 2024 in all major categories listed below. And then they highlighted the fact that it skyrocketed pretty much as soon as Biden got in. Really? I mean, yeah, that's when Biden started. Look at this. It just like immediately took off as soon as Democrats took over. Hilarious. And then they deleted it. Like, in what reality did they think that was actually something they were going to jab Trump with? I mean, stupid. They're idiots, man. They're low IQ. Way too many low IQ morons. All right. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next one. I thought that was hilarious. All right. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So every newborn in America now gets a $1,000 investment account thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill. Parents can contribute up to $5,000 a year, helping families grow wealth and invest in the American dream from day one. I mean, there's not a whole lot of parents out there that have $5,000 a year just to put into an investment account, but I mean, contributing to it, definitely a good thing. So anybody who can, they absolutely should. And then try to teach their kids how to budget responsibly and not fall into debt when they become an adult, because there's not enough kids that are being taught that. All right, so from Rep. David Kustoff, my bill, H.R. 517, the Filing Relief for Natural Disasters Act, is now law. At the president, just signed this critical legislation, which will provide much-needed tax filing relief for families and businesses affected by natural disasters. This new law gives disaster victims the flexibility they need to focus on what matters the most, rebuilding and recovering. Thank you to Rep. Judy Chu for your strong bipartisan partnership and support. There you have it. He signed it. Signed it today. So that is now in law. So what was it again? H.R. 517. Let's see if I can bring that up. Bring it up here. Let's try. Let's see. Oh, I didn't have all this ready. I prefer to open up a private window. So Google. Let's do Google. Then let's do HR 517 bill. Just throw in just one buzzword to see if we can get the right one. This bill authorizes the Treasury Secretary, after consulting with FEMA, to postpone tax filing deadlines to taxpayers impacted by natural disasters and emergencies as soon as the governor of a state declares a disaster or state of emergency. So there you have it. Oh, okay. So technically it was yesterday, it looks like. Yeah. July 24th, President Trump signs tax filing relief for natural disaster victims into law. So there you have it. That happened this week, at the very least. Yesterday, to be exact. From Tim Scott, proud to help pass the first federal school choice tax credit with Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Bill Cassidy. Bishop O'Connell is right. Parents should have the freedom to choose their children's education. The One Big Beautiful Bill will unlock opportunities for millions of kids, including access to quality Catholic schools, because every kid deserves the opportunity to succeed. This is from osvnews.com. So earlier this month, the president signed into law the first federal school choice tax credit in our nation's history. The new landmark legislation, led by Ted Cruz, Bill Cassidy, and Tim Scott, was modeled on the Educational Choice for Children Act, or ECCA, which aimed to expand parental choice in education to an estimated 2 million children across the country. For years, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has endorsed this bill because it aligns with our church's teaching that parents are the first and primary educators of their children and therefore have the right to select the best educational environment for them. The groundbreaking new law deserves accolades for its recognition of the rights of parents, but there are significant questions about how it will be implemented at the federal and state levels. The potential success of this law depends on what happens next. Ensuring that the greatest number and the neediest of children can benefit from this opportunity will require vigilance and discernment during the implementation and rulemaking process. One challenge will be ensuring that states, quote, opt in to the new federal opportunity so that children in each state can access scholarships. For example, my own state of New Jersey, not mine. I live in Florida. I don't live in New Jersey. But just reading the article. My own state of New Jersey currently has no state-level private school choice program. This new federal law could, for the first time, bring new resources to the children and families who wish to attend Catholic schools in our state. In the Diocese of Trenton alone, we have tens of thousands of students who could benefit from such scholarships and nearly 40 Catholic elementary and secondary schools to serve them. Lawmakers have the power to unlock millions of dollars in new education funding for students without adding a single dime to their budget or shifting any funding away from public education. Ensuring that our religious liberty and private school autonomy are respected also remains an area where church leaders, parents, and legislators must be particularly vigilant. Canon law is crystal clear that Catholic schools must be centered on the principles of Catholic doctrine. Our Catholic identity is too important to ever jeopardize. Promoting the urgency of affirming our rights to religious freedom and autonomy is a crucial priority of the Bishops' Conference during the rulemaking process. And I'll link this. I'll just stop there, but you can read it for yourself. I'll put it in the description. I put all my links into the description of the video. So if you want to read that further, if it interests you, it'll be right there for you to click on. All right, so where are we now? That doesn't look right. Where was I? Oh, I don't know why. It scrolled me down to the bottom. What the hell, man? What the fuck? Where were we? Okay, here we are. Right? No. Yeah. Oh, there we are. There we are. Well, it just goes to show I got a little bit more to get into here. So from Rapid Response 47, Secretary Burgum, POTUS understands we need reliable, affordable American energy, baseload energy, and that's why clean, beautiful American coal, oil, and natural gas, oil and gas resources. He's unleashing everything. Hey, man, that's good. With all the AI that's coming out, with all the EVs that they keep trying to roll out, our electrical grid, it's not going to be able to handle everything they want to bring online. So I don't care where it comes from, as long as we get it and as long as it has a high return on investment, which wind and solar clearly does not. So I think nuclear, and some more nuclear, and hydroelectric wherever it's possible. And yeah, I think that should be rolling out across the board as much as possible. But let's give this a listen or a watch.
Well, it is one big, beautiful bill, Maria, and President Trump, through his executive orders, was implementing the kinds of innovation we needed on permitting reform. I mean, we've gotten 8 projects done in the last couple months that normally would took years. We're getting them done in weeks. So the things that are happening when we speed up permitting, it's estimated there's between $1 trillion and $1.5 trillion of capital projects that were stuck in America wanting to get through but waiting for permits. When we accelerate that permit, we're accelerating more capital coming into the market.
Poor migratory birds.
This is why I'm so bullish on the American economy, is that we're actually letting innovation finally take hold again as opposed to regulation. President Trump understands that innovation is the source of American greatness, and regulation is what kills us. And when you were talking about, these incredible, ridiculous subsidies for intermittent, unreliable, and expensive sources, wind and solar, the other part about that, Maria, and you've been so good on this for so long, but most of those components, like for solar, all coming from China. I mean, information coming out a few weeks ago that some of these Chinese solar panels had kill switches inside of them. So this is just like the Huawei thing a few years ago. It's like we have to have secure supply chains, but for right now, President Trump understands we need reliable, affordable American energy, baseload energy, and that's why clean, beautiful American coal, metallurgical coal, which we need to get back in the steel industry, our oil and gas resources. He's unleashing everything, and he's pro renewable because he's pro nuclear, he's pro geothermal, he's pro hydro. President Trump is for all these things. As long as we get a return on the investment. It's American energy, and it's reliable baseload energy. That's the frame. It's not renewable versus unrenewable. It's affordable, reliable American baseload versus intermittent, expensive.
Yeah, plus with renewable energy, with wind and solar, having to back a lot of that energy up into batteries and shit like that, that is very inefficient, extremely expensive. Plus all those batteries, they're not going to last forever, so what are we going to do with them all? It's going to be catastrophic to the environment with all these millions of batteries that are going to eventually need replaced, and that's not good. But anyway, so I have this information in front of me. So since 2020, the U.S. government has invested approximately $600 billion in clean energy, according to environmentanalyst.com. That's environment-analyst.com. This includes investments through the Inflation Reduction Act, which is hilarious because when the government takes $600 billion and dumps it into something we're not going to get our money back on that. It's counterproductive with regard to inflation. I mean, that's hilarious. I mean, it seems like everything that Democrats put together into a giant bill and they pass and they put a catchphrase on it like Inflation Reduction Act, it tends to do the opposite of what they're saying that it's supposed to be doing. But anyway, let's see. It includes investments through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So $600 billion. And I don't know about you, but I've not seen any reduction in the electric bills. I haven't. I mean, if we're investing hundreds of billions of dollars into energy, shouldn't that, in a roundabout way, bringing down our costs for electricity? Otherwise, what the hell's the point? Well, the point is so these certain NGOs and certain nonprofit, quote-unquote nonprofits, and leftist activists and these startup companies, a lot of them start up and they go nowhere. But they're like, we're a startup company for green energy. We've got this amazing vision. And government gives them God knows how many millions of dollars, and it ends up going nowhere. But hey, it was a government grant, so we don't have to pay it back. All right, so this comes from Lee Zeldin. The permanent 100% solution to the Tijuana River sewage crisis we signed yesterday in Mexico City is a massive win for our environment, our border, the U.S.-Mexico relationship, and for the millions of people who have been impacted by this crisis. Let's check this out.
So many along this border. Trust in government is something that is important and possible, but you have to earn it. Selfless service, it's not about being
and that dude's trying to look
an
really
ambassador
emotional,
or an administrator or a secretary or even a president. The best part of it is serving people.
Quite the politician.
It's about results. It's about us heeding the call of millions of people who live on this border, and they are demanding, and they should, demanding that we tackle it. And in just a few short months, here we are in Mexico City. I'm grateful to the Secretary for hosting. Many goals in this memorandum of understanding are reached. And the Secretary was talking about financial components and stress testing and reducing timelines of Minute 328 projects and adding additional projects to make sure that 100% solution is there and entering into another minute. There are times when announcements get made and there's no substance. But here we are today with great pride to be able to stand before the people of Mexico and the United States who care so much about this issue, to be able to proudly tell you about all of the details of us finally delivering this urgent, long overdue, permanent, 100% solution to tackle this sewage crisis once and for all. It's an environmental win. It's a border win. It's a win for the Mexico-U.S. relationship. It's a win for people who had lost faith, but not anymore.
All right, so yeah, apparently there's a lot of sewage happening around the Tijuana River area, and they're cleaning it up. So that's a good thing. I figured it was worth mentioning at least. So from Secretary Chris Wright, the Palisades nuclear plant just received regulatory approval to come back online. We are one step closer to massively more energy in Western Michigan. Thank you, President Trump. So there you go. The Palisades gets green light. I'm assuming that's not in direct relation with the with the Palisades, Pacific Palisades. I mean, that's not been in the news for a little while, which is kind of interesting. I might actually have to look up the progress on that, on what's going on with the whole, burning down the entire Pacific Palisades because the idiot Democrats in LA had no water to put it out with. So, all right, so this is from the U.S. Department of Education. ED's Office for Civil Rights, OCR, has found that Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax County, Loudoun County, and Prince William County schools violated Title IX by allowing access to sex-segregated facilities based on students' subjective gender identity. Let's check this out. Let's dive into this and see what this is all about here. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So today, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights announced that it has concluded its investigation of 5 Northern Virginia school districts, the divisions, for allegations of discrimination on the basis of sex. OCR determined that the division's policies, which allow students to access intimate, sex-segregated facilities based on the student's subjective gender identity, violates Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. In February of this year, OCR opened an investigation into Alexandria City Public Schools Arlington Public Schools, Fairfax County, Loudoun, and Prince William Public Schools. The investigation was based on complaints alleging that the divisions have similar anti-discrimination policies pertaining to transgender identifying students, which violate the sex-based protections of Title IX. The divisions are also the subject of several lawsuits, informal complaints, and reports which allege that students in the divisions avoid using school restrooms whenever possible because of the school's policies, and that female students have witnessed male students inappropriately touching other students and watching female students change in a female locker room. Yeah, see, this is just awful on every level, man. Quote, although this type of behavior was tolerated by the previous administration, it's time for Northern Virginia's experiment with radical gender ideology and unlawful discrimination to come to an end. OCR's investigation definitely shows that these 5 Virginia school districts have been trampling on the rights of students in the service of an extreme political ideology, said Acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights Craig Traynor. The Trump administration will not sacrifice the safety, dignity, and innocence of America's young women and girls at the altar of anti-scientific illiberalism. Let's see here. I'm just taking a quick gander here, just seeing how much I should get into. Let's see. As a result of the non-compliance finding, OCR has issued a proposed resolution agreement to the divisions to resolve their Title IX violations. OCR has offered the divisions an opportunity to voluntarily agree within 10 days or risk imminent enforcement action, including referral to the U.S. Department of Justice. The Department of Education's proposed resolution agreement requires the divisions to take the following actions. Number 1, rescind the policies and or regulations that allow students to access intimate facilities based on their quote-unquote gender identity rather than their biological sex. And number 2, issue a memorandum to each division school explaining that any future policies related to access to intimate facilities must be consistent with Title IX by separating students strictly on the basis of sex, and that Title IX ensures women's equal opportunity in any education program or activity, including athletic programs. And number 3, adopt biology-based definitions of the words male and female in all practices and policies relating to Title IX. Dude, talk about fucking clown world we're living in. Absolute clown world. So there's some background information here, just a little bit there, but you know what? I'll go ahead and read it. Why not? So on June 18th of this year, the Supreme Court upheld a Tennessee law banning certain medical care for minors relating to treating gender dysphoria, gender identity disorder, or gender incongruence, and held that laws regulating medical treatment or procedures in this realm are subject to rational basis review rather than heightened scrutiny under the Equal Protection Clause. In so holding, the Supreme Court acknowledged that a person's identification as transgender is distinct from a person's biological sex, because it is. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So there you have it. So that's getting done in Virginia. Yeah, like those areas, they're pretty well known as being some of the most wokest school districts in the entire country, especially Loudoun County, man. They've absolutely lost their minds. I think I mean, don't quote me. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I've seen a couple of those school board meetings in the last couple of years because they went viral in a couple of instances, but I think like half the school board is either LGBT or transgender or whatever. I mean, yeah, they've lost their minds. They've absolutely lost their minds. I mean, it's like in California where they passed that law that allows teachers to not disclose students who transition from one gender to another. They don't have to disclose that to the parents anymore, apparently. I think that's California law now. It's fucking crazy. Stripping the rights away from parents completely, all up and down. I get it. Being born and raised in California, you don't want to leave your home state, especially if you've got your entire family there, your entire way of life, everything you know is right there. It's not so easy to just pack up and leave. I don't know, man. If I were in the position of being a parent in California, I just don't think I could do it. I would just have to up and leave just for the sake of my kids, man. Unless you want to put them in an extremely expensive private school or maybe move out into red rural California somewhere, but you're still not going to be shielded from the state laws of California, right? Even though I'm sure there's plenty of school districts in California, especially rural California, where they're not playing into that shit. So, but anyway, this is from Dan Bongino. As promised, I want to provide an update on our efforts out of FBI to defend the homeland and protect Americans from threats here at home and around the world. We're right around the 6-month mark, and thanks to the leadership of this administration and the work of our men, and this gets a little long, of law enforcement, there is no doubt our country is safer today than it was in January. Immigration enforcement. Since January 20th, the FBI has assisted our partners at DHS in over 21,900 immigration enforcement-related detentions and arrests. We surged resources at never-before-seen levels to meet the need after 4 years of a crisis at the southern border. Our agents and field teams did a tremendous job rising to the challenge. Violent crime arrests. From January 20th to present, there have been over 12,400 arrests in the violent crime and gang program. We are crushing gang operations at the source and taking them off the streets. Illegal drug seizures. Between January 20th to last Friday, July 18th, the FBI has seized 1,430 kilograms of fentanyl, an increase over the same time frame from last year, which was 1,089 kilograms. This work is saving lives. Additionally, in that same time frame, the FBI has seized over 62,000 kilograms of cocaine, 5,000 kilograms of methamphetamine, and 12,600 kilograms of marijuana. And I just read yesterday, the Coast Guard, they seized over 200,000 kilos of cocaine since, I believe it was since the beginning of this year. An absolute insane amount of drugs that they're seizing. Good. Because of these successes and others, we continue to be on pace for one of the lowest murder rates ever recorded in the U.S. That is no accident. We have so much more work to do. The work will continue. God bless America and all those who defend her. So that's good that he provided that update. Got 40,000 likes. Over 1 million people saw that post. So I would call that viral. So this is from Rapid Response 47. This is absolutely sickening. An illegal immigrant was R-wording a woman in Kentucky, then shot and killed the woman's 15-year-old son when he tried to stop it. Guess who let the scumbag illegal into our country? Joe Biden, which is absolutely horrific. And this is on Lexington. I wish he would have linked the article. Well, I mean, that's the gist of it. I won't actually go looking for it, but I'm sure you could probably pretty easily find it on their website. The Lexington Herald Leader. Murder suspect entered the U.S. illegally and committed atrocities, which is absolutely just horrific on every level. I'm telling you, man, everybody's got to be armed, especially with tens of millions of illegals that entered the country. I've said it before, probably many times before, not all of them are bad. The vast majority of them are just good, honest people who are in tough economic circumstances. They're not from war-torn countries. They're not in situations where they're being religiously persecuted. You know, the vast majority, they live in a poor country and they want to come to America, which is an extremely rich country. So that's just the gist of it. However, there's a lot of them who are dangerous and they are trying to take advantage in any possible way that they can. So I think now's it's the best time probably in the last, who knows how many, 150, probably 200 years, where it's more commonsensical to be carrying a firearm now than it has been in many decades. It's just unfortunate where most of these criminal illegal immigrants are. They're in these major blue cities where it's not so easy to obtain and carry a firearm, especially in places like New Jersey. I think in order to get a concealed carry license in New Jersey, I think I read this somewhere, that you have to actually write some essay to the New Jersey government to ask permission for them to give you one. Like, you actually have to write this whole essay explaining why you need one. It's absolutely insane. Freaking crazy. I mean, I'd just copy the Second Amendment onto a piece of paper and send that off to them. Then they probably would deny you, but that's why I'm really glad to live in the state of Florida, where we have some form of constitutional carry. We don't have full constitutional carry, but we can at least conceal carry without needing the government's permission anymore. So that's definitely a good thing. That went into effect, if I'm not mistaken, July 1st of last year. So an excellent win for the state of Florida, which actually, let me see if I can bring this up. Now that I'm talking about that subject, there's this amazing graphic, if I can find it. It's like a GIF image of let me see, constitutional carry states. Let's see, map. I should be able to find it doing this. Let's try images. There's one that's, you know what? Let me see if I can do this. Let me try to full screen it. Tools. Type. GIF. Let's try that. I know there's one here. Yeah, here it is. This is absolutely nuts, man. So, and this is on Wikipedia. Wokepedia. Let's make this a little darker. All right. So this is the history of concealed. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. 1988. I can't pause it, but look. Unrestricted is green. That's constitutional carry states. Shall issue, 20. And it's going up. And then yellow is may issue, and then red is no issue. Red, basically, you can't carry a firearm. And look at this. 2005. So almost the entire country switches to shall issue, which means you need the government's permission to carry. And then look at these states. They start popping up in green. Unrestricted. That means you don't need the government's permission to carry a firearm. You don't have to have a license to carry. Look at this. Explodes, man. By 2024, look at that. The majority of the country from 1986. And look, it kind of stays the same. I'll play it one more time. But it starts changing in the late 80s to shall issue. I can't believe that much of the country was restricting the carry of firearms. That was absolutely nuts, man. And then in 2000, see Vermont up there, they were the only one. And then Alaska popped up in 2003. And then it starts lighting up, man. This is such a huge win for the Second Amendment. Then Arizona, then Wyoming, Arkansas, and then 2015, 2 more, and then more, 17, 2019, 2020, and then it's right after COVID, 2021, a fucking explosion. Just awesome, man. Unrestricted. So yeah, the majority of the United States, you don't have to have your state's government permission to carry a firearm as long as you have those qualities like you can't be a felon, and you can't be diagnosed with a mental illness, or at least an ongoing mental illness. You can't be addicted to drugs. You can't be dishonorably discharged from the military, and you got to be an American citizen. I think that's the gist of it. As long as you meet those criteria, you can carry a firearm in any of those states that were lit up in green without the government's permission, which is absolutely amazing. And it was right after COVID, man. It was like only just a small handful of states. Like what was it, like 8 states, 7, 8, maybe 9 states in 2020 had a no issue or unrestricted carry. And from 2020 up until around 2023, 24, there was a boom in pro 2A policies and laws that finally gave American citizens unrestricted access to possess and carry firearms. I mean, in all those states, you can possess a firearm, but you couldn't carry it out in public. But in the state of Florida, it's not, you can't just open carry everywhere. You have to still conceal it, which I would recommend. I mean, if I'm carrying a gun in public, I would conceal it because I just don't want people around me to know that I've got one, because somebody could just come up behind you and just snatch it, you know? It's better off that nobody knows that you have one. You know, just hiding in plain sight. But in the state of Florida, at least, if you're hunting, if you're fishing, or if you're camping, you don't need permission. And that didn't just go into effect last July. That's been the case in Florida for years. That as long as you're doing those 3 activities, you don't have to have a license, and you can open carry. As long as you're performing those 3 activities. But you have to make damn sure that you're doing exactly those 3 things, because if you're stopped by the police and you're not either engaging in hunting, camping, or fishing, or the act of going to or returning from, then you'll get hit with a felony. So you got to make sure that you're doing that. If you're exercising your Second Amendment rights and you're carrying, a badass AR-15 on your chest, and you got a fishing rod and you got a bait bucket, you better just make damn sure that you're walking straight to the pier or straight to wherever it is that you're fishing, because the police stop you, and if you say, well, I'm just stopping over here to grab a drink, I'm going fishing, but I'm just going to swing by, grab a beverage, or I'm going to drop off some mail at the mailbox on my way there. Don't tell them that. You got to tell them you're going directly there, because if you sidetrack, if only but for a second, then now you're illegally carrying. So, yeah, there's a YouTube channel. Damn, what was his name? The Armed Fisherman. If you look him up, The Armed Fisherman. Last I checked, he had probably almost 100,000 subs. Lives here in Florida, travels all over the state. I think he's been to every county at this point, and he open carries, goes fishing, and he engages with the local police. Most of the time, they don't mess with him. They're very cordial conversation, but there's been instances where he was ordered to the ground at gunpoint, and they removed his firearm from him. Plus, he had a sidearm too. But yeah, he's pretty entertaining. He's got a good personality, the Armed Fisherman. So anyway, all right. So I'll move on here with Tammy Bruce. We are continuing to try to get aid into a war zone that exists only because of Hamas. And that's another thing Democrats have been talking a lot about frankly, over months and months. But that's been kind of a hot topic amongst Democrats this week, talking about how the IDF and American weapons are causing people in Gaza and Palestinians to starve to death. They're all starving to death because Israel is just forcing them to starve to death, when that couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is it's fucking Hamas. Every time we try to deliver food to them, it's these Hamas assholes who keep taking the fucking food away. But anyway, let's listen to this.
The only entity that has been weaponizing aid has been Hamas. Through the looting of aid, the weaponization of this population. What we have seen is an effort from the United States government, like I said, to get 90 million meals into Gaza during a war zone. We saw efforts. But that's not enough. We saw efforts to get to a ceasefire we saw efforts to.
That's not enough. This is taxpayer-funded food, by the way. How much is that? How many millions of dollars worth of food are these 90 million meals? $3 million, $4 million? That's taxpayer money. No. How about zero? Even if we deliver 100,000 meals, yeah, you're right. It's not going to be enough for every single person living there. But at least we're giving them something. We don't have to give them anything. We're not in any obligation to feed the entire planet or feed the entire third world, the American taxpayer, because at the end of the day, that's who's paying for it. The American taxpayer, you and me. So for her to make that comment, it's infuriating, to be honest. And I'm glad that they're sending out food supplies to areas that are war-torn, where there's civilians. I mean, put yourself in their shoes, that you're just trying to live your life and you're in the middle of this war zone that you didn't choose to be in. You were born and raised in this area. So I get it. And I would put myself in their shoes and see that, yes, that's a good thing we're doing, because we have the ability. We have a massive food supply in the United States. Most Americans, we tend to throw away a sizable percentage of the amount of food that we purchase. Like in restaurants, I know with shrinkflation and the whole COVID thing fucked all that up, but before COVID happened, they were, on average, restaurants would give you 3 times the amount of food that one person on average would eat. So we have an abundance of food, so it's good that we're delivering food to places that need it desperately. But the problem is with this situation is that it's not falling into the hands of those who need it, it's falling into the hands of freaking terrorists.
To get to a ceasefire that Hamas has decided not to act in good faith to achieve. That is the reality here, and we're continuing to try to get aid into a war zone that exists only because of Hamas.
Yep, only because of them. And we can drop it from the air with parachutes, pallets of food, and the people who need it the most are not going to end up with it, because they don't have the guns. Hamas has the guns. And if you try to take the food, they'll probably shoot you. All right, so let's move on to Senate Energy GOP. America's electricity demand is surging. The grid is not ready. Ain't that the truth? If we don't change course, the lights are going out. Yeah, rolling brownouts, blackouts definitely will be something that we may have to deal with. But again, with the red tape of nuclear energy that Trump recently cut by signing 4 executive orders, I believe it was in June, that's going to hopefully fast-track the production of some nuclear power plants, and that's what we need more than anything. We just need to build more nuclear power plants. The only problem is that it takes years to build them and get them online. I mean, we should have been building them up all along, and I think that's going to be very problematic. Look, the whole AI thing, taking jobs, is very problematic, and AI is expanding pretty quick, and it's only going to get exponential in the short term. But bringing all of these AI systems online, a lot of these companies, these tech companies, investing billions of dollars into AI infrastructure, it's a lot of these facilities, they're going to be consuming a ton of electricity in a short amount of time, and we're not really building out anymore. I mean, we are, but not nearly at the rate that we need to be. And basically where I'm getting at is in the next few years, it's a pretty distinct possibility that our electric bills are going to skyrocket. They're going to go up quite a lot, especially in the areas where these AI facilities are being built. And for the most part, they're just these giant supercomputer facilities. They've just got stacks and stacks of just computers that are built in these what the hell do they call those? I can't remember what they're called. The server racks, that's what they're called. Massive long hallways. And plus, they have to be temperature controlled because computers, everybody knows computers get hot. And when you've got tens of thousands of computers in one room, it tends to get a little hot. So it requires a whole lot of energy to keep it cooled. So that way the computers don't overheat. But yeah, it's a major problem. But anyway, let's hear if he's got any solutions to it. I'm sure he's probably going to point out plenty of problems. But for some reason, politicians, they lack certain abilities to give us solutions up front. Instead, they're just like, we need this and we need that, and there's too much of this happening, and we don't have enough electricity. Okay, what the fuck are we going to do about it then?
Let's begin with the simple fact.
Hopefully he's got a solution.
America's electricity demand is surging. For decades, power demand in this country remained relatively flat, but that era is over. We're now entering a new era of electrification. Data centers, AI computing, manufacturing, returning home, electric vehicles, all of it. Even conservative estimates suggest that we could see 2 to 3% annual growth compounded over the next decade. Now, here's the real problem. We have spent much of the last 20 years shutting down
power plants,
the generation that can actually meet that demand. Coal plants retired. Nuclear blocked.
Because they lead people to believe that nuclear power plants, they produce all this lime green liquid toxic waste, which doesn't exist.
Natural gas tied up in endless litigation. And we replaced a lot of that capacity with wind, solar, and batteries, resources that by design don't work all the time.
Guess what? That's not enough.
Work roughly a third of the time.
We've been through Europe. We've been through all these continents that have tried 7 different ways of making electrons, and they're virtually bankrupt. Doesn't work.
Meanwhile, gas plants, nuclear reactors, geothermal, these things that can actually power a modern economy, providing predictable, reliable, affordable, clean baseload power, they get crowded out or delayed. Now look at what FERC tells us. According to FERC,
look, not to pause it, but I'm going to anyway. There was a story that happened, I believe it was last summer, where there was this large solar farm in Oklahoma. Was it in Oklahoma? Somewhere in the Great Plains that had a hailstorm. And it damaged the majority of the solar panels at this solar farm. It only took one single hailstorm to essentially ruin this entire solar farm. So if we're dependent on solar, for example, heavily in certain areas, what happens when there's a hailstorm or any kind of natural disaster that occurs? Now they're going to have to start pulling from the electrical grid that everybody else is tapped into, and it's going to cause energy to go up. Plus, it's going to cost a shitload of money to replace all those solar panels.
Between now and 2028, we're set to retire 24 gigawatts of coal-fired generation just in the next 3 years alone. And replace it with just 5 gigawatts of gas-fired power. That math doesn't work. And if we don't change course, if we don't wake up to this reality, the lights are going out. We need utilities.
Yep. And then Democrats are going to say, well, it's the Republicans' fault because they're the ones that put a stop to the production of green energy. We had this plan, multi-trillions of dollars. AOC has got a $100 trillion Green New Deal that we were trying to roll out. And we don't care where the money came. We don't care that the money doesn't exist, but we were just going to do it anyway. And since the Republicans are getting in the way and now we're not producing all of these solar and wind farms, it's your fault. It's your fault that we're doing it. We're just doing this for the earth. We're doing it. We're shutting down all these plants because they're just like bad for the environment. Because carbon dioxide, it's not like trees use carbon dioxide for food or anything like that.
Developers, states, and Congress to start telling the truth about this. The grid is not ready. The system is not built for this. And the path that we're on,
but they're going to build all this AI
will
up anyway.
Culminate quite predictably.
They're going to keep mining Bitcoin
blackouts,
anyway.
Rising prices,
they're going to keep building
national
EVs
vulnerability,
anyway.
and our inability to remain competitive
China, they're
in
building
what
a lot of
many are
power
describing
plants.
as the AI global arms race. If we don't take steps to respond to the increased demand, the risk of blackouts in the United States will increase 100-fold. I repeat, increasing 100 times what we currently face. We cannot allow that to happen. It's time that we face the facts, and that's what this hearing is about.
Yep, and what are they going to do when that starts happening? What they should do, they should shut down these facilities that are demanding tons of electricity in favor of the everyday people who depend on electricity to power their homes. And they probably will in these instances where tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of people are dealing with rolling brownouts and blackouts. But that's only going to pave the way for China to surpass us with AI development, because China, they're building lots of power plants. They're building a shitload of power plants right now because they know. And we've just been allowing Democrats to push this green policy that's completely ineffective. And it's insane, man. They want us to they want our entire electrical grid to essentially run off batteries. And it's absolutely psychotic. All right, so anyway, a little better news here. So from the U.S. Space Command, welcome to the Artemis Accords, Senegal. Senegal's commitment strengthens space security through responsible behavior. And Senegal has become the 56th nation to commit to the safe and peaceful exploration of space. Learn more about the Artemis Accords. That's a lot of countries. That is very cool. I'm not seeing China, though. Is Russia on here? I mean, how political is the Artemis Accords anyway? I mean, Russia should be on here. I mean, we've been going to space with them for years. When Obama retired the space shuttle program, we 100% depended on Russia to get our astronauts into space. They're up to the International Space Station. Before SpaceX started taking our astronauts up, we were completely reliant on the Russian space program to get our astronauts into space. That was wild. So let's see. I was hoping to see like what the list. I mean, it was in the graphic. It was in the image, but. So Senegal signed the Artemis Accords Thursday during a ceremony hosted by NASA at the agency's headquarters in Washington, becoming the latest nation to commit to the responsible exploration of space for all humanity. Quote, following a meeting between Senegal President Faye and President Trump today, NASA built upon the strong relations between our two nations as the Senegalese Agency for Space Studies signed the Artemis Accords, said acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy. With Senegal as the 56th signatory, I'm proud to further President Trump's strong legacy of global cooperation in space. So let's see here. I want to see if they have... Okay, so this is the Artemis Accords. Signing the Artemis Accords means to explore peaceably and transparently, to render aid to those in need, to ensure unrestricted access to scientific data that all of humanity can learn from, to ensure activities do not interfere with those of others, to preserve historically significant sites and artifacts, and to develop best practices for how to conduct space exploration activities for the benefit of all. More countries are expected to sign the Artemis Accords in the months and years ahead as NASA continues its work to establish a safe, peaceful, and prosperous future in space. Very cool. So that is the Artemis Accords. And I'll link that in the description if you want to read the information that I skipped over. So let's head down to the next one here. Where is it? From the Department of Defense news, the Baltic states pledged to meet NATO's 5% GDP military target. So that's good. And this is from defense.gov. Largen this up a bit. Is that even a word? That's not even a word. Largen. Baltic states pledged to meet NATO's 5% GDP military target. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth held an enhanced honor cordon and quadrilateral meeting today at the Pentagon, welcoming Estonian Defense Prime Minister Hanno Pevkur, Latvian Defense Minister Andris Spruds, and Lithuanian Defense Minister Dovel Sakalien. I'm bad with names. Always bad with the names. During the meeting, the Baltic states pledged to meet the target of 5% of their gross domestic product for defense spending, which Hegseth says serves as a reminder to the entire NATO alliance of its responsibilities. The defense secretary thanked his counterparts from the Baltic states for their friendship, support, and respect for U.S. troops, as well as their leadership by example. I mean, that's what all NATO countries are supposed to be at 5%, aren't they? I think they're all supposed to be at that number. And who was it? Germany? Germany wasn't meeting that number for years. Probably most of them weren't even meeting that number for years. And our politicians just kept looking the other way until President Trump got involved, and he insisted that they start chipping in the amount that they need to, because look, they need NATO a lot more than we do. We've got 2 oceans separating us from Russia and China and whatnot, whereas they're on the same landmass. But anyway, the United States remains fully committed to NATO, and together we're achieving peace through strength in Europe by setting the conditions for negotiated lasting peace in Ukraine, establishing sustainable deterrence, and increasing allied capabilities and interoperability, he said. The United States has numerous obligations around the world, including defending the homeland and deterring war in the Indo-Pacific region, Hegseth said, adding that this is why European investment in its own conventional defense is more important than ever. Your efforts to modernize and invest in new military capabilities are crucial to deterring attacks and building readiness, he said. So, and the article goes on. It will be linked. And let's move on to the next one. U.S. EPA under Zeldin, the 17th Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin. Under his leadership, the Trump EPA delivered a win for the American people yesterday. Ending the Tijuana River sewage crisis ensures clean air, land, and water for all Americans. I mean, all Americans? I don't know about all Americans, but at least in the region. So, I mean, it's got to be a good thing, right? Check this out. I know we just mentioned, we just covered this a minute ago, but we got another video about it.
And Madam Secretary, with other distinguished leaders from the Mexican delegation, all came with great enthusiasm, the best of faith and intentions, that they were focused on tackling this important environmental and border security issue. I saw the degradation of the Tijuana River Valley. I heard about the beaches that were closed. I met with the Navy SEALs who have had their training impacted. But as I was going through these different stops, I knew with great faith that the United States and Mexico would quickly be able to develop and finalize this 100% permanent solution. Here we are today with great pride to be able to stand before the people of Mexico and the United States who care so much about this issue.
How much is Mexico
to be able to
for
proudly tell you about all of the details of us finally delivering this urgent, long overdue, permanent, 100% solution to tackle this sewage crisis once and for all.
Yeah, well, you know, something tells me that it's not the United States where the majority of the sewage is coming from. Sounds like that's something that Mexico should probably be overwhelmingly paying for, but what do I know? All right, some from DoD Rapid Response to our war fighters and the American taxpayers. This is what we did this week. So let's back out on this from the Department of Defense. Let's see what they've been up to this week.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson, and welcome to the DoD's weekly situation report. There's a lot of recent firsts for the U.S. Navy. This week, Secretary of the Navy announced for the first time that NASCAR is coming to Naval Base Coronado, California. The Navy will be opening the gates of their iconic institution for the American people June 2026. We are so excited. Last week, President Trump nominated Lieutenant General Michael J. Borgschulte to be the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy. This is the first time someone from the U.S. Marine Corps is overseeing the Naval Academy as superintendent. Congratulations. His predecessor, Navy Vice Admiral Yvette Davids, was reappointed and promoted to Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Operations, Plans, Strategy, and Warfighting Development here at the Pentagon. We are also excited to report that the United States Senate voted to confirm Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer as the next Undersecretary of the Air Force. Under the Biden administration, Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer was targeted and ultimately removed from his command for speaking the truth, that the embrace of critical race theory and Marxism was on the rise in the military when Joe Biden and 100%. Lloyd Austin were in charge. Now, under President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, CRT and DEI is dead at DoD. Amen. Congratulations again to Undersecretary Lohmeyer on his confirmation, and we are looking forward to seeing all the amazing things he accomplishes for our Air Force and for our country right here at the Pentagon. Secretary Hegseth welcomed special guests to the Pentagon this week. He held bilateral meeting with Philippines President Marcos and a quadrilateral meeting with his counterparts in the Baltic, the ministers of defense from Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. 100 bright young men from the great organization Boys Nation visited us at the Pentagon to hear words of advice from the secretary. Freedom endures when leadership is passed to the next generation, and the future is looking bright. Also this week, the secretary joined members of the Space Force at National Stadium, where they were honored. That's all we have for you this week. Thanks for watching. God bless you all, and God bless this great country we call home.
All right. Hell of a week for the DOD. Very nice. Very nice. So this is from House Democrats, so this ought to be fun. Cutting Medicaid isn't just bad for public health, it hurts the whole economy. On today's Democratic Daily Download, Rep. Amelia Sykes explains how Medicaid cuts will cause hospitals to close and people to lose their jobs. Well, of course, she's not mentioning the billions of dollars that the One Big Beautiful Bill is going to give to rural hospitals who might take a hit from certain cuts in Medicare or Medicaid. But let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Amelia Sykes, representing Ohio's 13th Congressional District.
One of the many reasons
why the One Big Ugly Bill is so problematic for my constituents is because our largest employer are hospital systems.
You're so fucking petty and immature.
Nearly 30,000 people across the district. And so if you're going to cut $1 trillion out of the Medicaid program, you're going to impact our hospital systems, which means not only is the care that people receive going to be diminished, these people may be out of a job. We can't afford layoffs. Our folks want to work, and this bill will put people in Ohio's 13th Congressional District out of work. So that's why we can't support this bill. We deserve a strong economy where people can work and have their opportunity for the American dream, and the One Big Ugly Bill does not allow that to happen.
All right. Well, let's just see what the comments have to say about that, because I think there might be a little bit of pushback here. So I said $50 billion rural health transformation program. That was included in the Big Beautiful Bill. So I just figured I'd throw that out there because $50 billion is being allocated for rural hospitals who could be impacted. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, we already saw that earlier. That's from Doge AI again. I might read that, but let's see here first. Imagine if $16.2 billion went to those who really need it. You've failed. CBO Medicaid spending on illegal aliens has cost taxpayers over $16.2 billion under open border czar Harris. Yup. Hospitals were closing under Democrat majority. Why weren't you concerned then? Absolutely. See, they bring their receipts too. Bankruptcies hit 5-year high. Look at that. Hospital bankruptcies hit a 5-year high. According to the report, there were 79 bankruptcy filings in the healthcare sector in 2023. When was Biden president again? The highest since 2019, which saw 51 filings. Okay, so to be fair, 2019, Trump was president then. There were 51 filings, but 79 is a lot bigger than 51. The report found that case volumes in 2023 were more than triple the level in 2021 and more than 1.7 times the level of in 2022. I mean, we just came out of well, absolutely, by far the most expensive pandemic in the history of humanity. So it kind of makes you wonder, why were so many of them filing for bankruptcy when I'm sure the healthcare industry was more than booming in 2020 and 2021. The report also found that bankruptcy filings of healthcare entities with liabilities over $100 million increased to 28 in 2023 compared to just 7 in 2022 and 8 in 2021. Nearly half of the total healthcare bankruptcy filings in the year 23 were in the senior care and pharmaceutical subsectors. However, the report found that hospital bankruptcy filings increased to 12 in 2023 compared to a total of 11 filings in the past 3 years combined. Well, maybe it's because Democrat policies, including the Governor Cuomo, who forced elderly people who caught COVID to be returned to the facilities where there were residents who didn't have COVID. And how many were there? 16,000, if I'm not mistaken, were killed, essentially, for lack of a better word, by the governor from that policy. So maybe there were some entities that had to file bankruptcy because there sadly weren't enough patients because of all the COVID bullshit that went on. So also, let's see, a couple more. The government should be relying on the economy. If the economy relies on the government, we have a problem. Amen. Put your people back to work instead of them sitting around playing video games and collecting free shit. As much money as Democrats have spent on illegals, our country could have been out of debt, you batshit crazy fucks. But what are people getting their Medicaid cut? or what are people getting their Medicaid cut? Lies and misinformation. Open borders destroyed our country. More lies, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, she's getting roasted in the comments, needless to say. As Democrats tend to do, because a lot of what they're saying, it's just nonsensical. All right, so from Mike Lee, the Fed Mahal is beautiful. What should we do with it after we end the Fed? What should we do with it after we end the Fed? There were 6,000 people who replied, given certain ideas. Oh, I think that's supposed to say Trump. Yeah, an AI-generated building. Privatize it and turn it into a new Trump hotel. That's a good-looking hotel. Yeah, it's an AI hotel. Burn it to the ground, piss on the ashes, and then salt the earth upon which it stood. Turn it into a museum showcasing all the conspiracy theories that have turned out to be true. Ha! That's a good idea. House homeless vets. That's an even better idea. Trump's presidential library. A veterans center where they can find free to them housing, counseling, and any other services they need. Museum of the Deep State, of course, to remind generations of future Americans to never, ever let your guard down. There's some good ideas. What we should do with the building after they end the Fed, which they are currently renovating it, and it's into the billions of dollars now. I think it's up to, $3 billion now that it's costing to renovate this building, and they're at least a year, if not longer, behind schedule. Now they're saying the renovation could go up until 2027, and Trump just toured it. What was that, yesterday? Possibly the day before yesterday. No, I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? Anyway, so really, really good. This is just a meme. Capitalism, fishing out in the open water. Socialism, fishing in a bucket. So, all right. So from Ed Markey, paraprofessionals and education support staff keeps our schools running and students thriving, often with little recognition and low pay. I'm proud to fight alongside union leaders and Senator Sanders to demand fair pay, strong benefits, and the respect these essential workers deserve. Let's give this a listen.
Thank you all for what you are doing and representing kind of the best of our nation.
Right, I got it maxed out.
You are the backbone of our schools,
sir.
And our communities. You, the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the bus drivers, the custodial workers, speech pathologists, laid the foundation for our children's future. You paved the path for children to be who they are and reach for their dreams. You support students and parents and communities. It is about time we support you in what you do every single day.
Wait, who is this dude again? Ed Markey. Oh, Senator, U.S. Senator for Massachusetts. Dude, you're a federal representative. You're not on the state level. Anyone who's in the federal government should have no business dealing with the education system in any way, shape, or form. This should be something that state senators should be talking about, not you, asshole.
But right now, too many educators and school workers are underpaid, undervalued, and overworked.
Shouldn't be a federal government issue. Should be
too much
state.
With too little every single day of the school year.
States run like
and
shit, that's why.
I've heard from cafeteria workers who rely on SNAP to access healthy food, technology support staff who can't afford Wi-Fi at home, paraeducators who can't afford to send their child to college. And that is unacceptable in 2020.
Dude, who can afford to send their kids to college these days? Nobody can. That's why all these students are in debt.
In the United States of America, the richest country in the history of the world. It is unacceptable that 1 out of every 5 paraprofessionals are visiting food pantries. It is unacceptable that educators have to choose between affording a prescription or paying their rent. Educators deserve a livable and a competitive wage, and that's why I'm proud to join with Senator.
Now notice how he's not throwing out any numbers. Notice how he's not recommending what the base salary should be for any of these workers.
Sanders, as a co-sponsor of his Pay
maybe he will.
Teachers
I haven't seen this.
Act,
maybe he does.
Again, this Congress, and while I am proud to be introducing my pay paraprofessionals and educators.
Dude, he has to read all this shit off the paper. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He didn't write any of this shit.
Support Staff Act, which we also have to put into law.
Not federal law, maybe in your state law. That shouldn't be my freaking problem. Not if other states' education.
What this bill would do is it would set a minimum wage
here
for
we go.
paraprofessionals
$50 minimum wage
and education support staff in our country at $45,000 a year.
For what? For everybody? For the janitors and everybody? Okay. But see, your state, the cost of living there is probably far more than it is in, let's say, Wyoming or whatever.
Here, $30 an hour.
$30 an hour. Fucking insane, man. This is absolutely insane. Minimum wage should be $0. It should be $0 an hour because nobody be that psychotic to work for $0 an hour. If you're working a job that's only paying $3 an hour, well, then why are you working that job making $3 an hour? I mean, you got to build your skill set. You got to build your skill set. And that's also the argument why we have to keep our immigration system on lock and have a very carefully guarded system to where we only allow a small amount in unless there's certain job fields or certain sectors that's in very high demand and there's immigrants out there in the world that could fulfill those jobs that we don't have American interest with, for example.
For paraprofessionals across our country.
$30
and that just sets the bare minimum of a living wage for which states could go beyond.
So basically what he's saying is that everybody in the school, it sounds like communism to me. So the cafeteria worker, the janitor, the teachers, even the principal, they're all going to be making $30 an hour. That's essentially what it's going to be. They're all going to be making about flat the same amount of money. So you get some of these teachers who get a bachelor's or master's degree, they're going to be making about $45,000 a year, which is the same amount as just the bare bottom minimum level workers like janitorial staff and things like that. Oh, that's over. Okay. So I do like reading the comments when it comes to Democrats. I really should start reading more comments on the Republican side, too. The federal government has done nothing to help our education system. We have had the best education system in the world before the Department of Education stepped in. Where are we on the global list today? Number 50? Now, to be fair, I was being a little dramatic. I don't think we're that far down. I don't know. We're probably at, like, what, number 13, number 14, something like that. And I'm not talking college, even though our college system's completely fucked too, but I was speaking, and I should have elaborated, I was talking K through 12. K through 12. I don't think we're in the top 10 in the world. Japan's up there, Finland's up there, some other European countries I'm sure are up there. We're not up there, not as high as we were before the Federal Department of Education was implemented. So anyway, meanwhile, we're sending tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel. Yeah, dude, why are we doing that? Why are Democrats sending billions and billions of dollars to foreign countries? School vouchers can fix the problem. Mass schools are bastions of woke indoctrination. Yep, Massachusetts schools. Odd we didn't need all that when I was in school. The overbloat of administration in schools is not helping the students. Nope, it really isn't. Our students are thriving? If only we could copy-paste him, we'd actually have progressive policies. Yeah, okay. Teachers are being paid to teach kids to hate this country. You are a viper. Absolutely. That's why we got to get rid of the federal DOE. So you can check that out on his profile if you so choose. So moving on to Congressman Maxwell Alejandro, another Democrat, I believe. It's not just in the Everglades. ICE constantly lies. Oh, of course it's a Democrat. ICE constantly lies about detained immigrants' whereabouts and the inhumane detention conditions they're subjected to. Just look at this footage from NYC. Now that they're getting 10 times more in funding, we urgently need to pass the SUDIM Act. What is the SUDIM Act? Give detainees, their families, lawyers, and the public up-to-date info on. Oh, Sue Them Act. Dude, this is stupid. How do I make it bigger? There we go. All right, what the hell is this? Leaked footage shows inhumane conditions at NYC ICE offices. Yeah, that's probably a waiting room, dude. What are you trying to say? I mean, how many days have they been in that room? Probably not that long. I don't see feces on the floor. I just see a room that looks like they're being held temporarily until they put them somewhere else. I bet not a single one in that room was probably in there for more than a couple hours. Plus police departments and office buildings, they're notoriously cold. So, hey, they got a blanket. I mean, I know it's a thermal blanket, but anyway, here, let me see what else this is. The SUDIM Act, Stop Unlawful Detention and End Mistreatment. So essentially, just let them all loose. Just let all the illegals out and just let them do whatever the hell they want. It's not just in the Everglades. ICE has been detaining people in abusive, makeshift conditions in their NYC office. They lied about detaining immigrants in their New York district office, leaving lawyers and families scrambling to find their loved ones. But data shows people have been held there for 100 plus hours. Detainees have no access to medication or showers. They sleep on the floor with emergency blankets, and they share 2 toilets for 80 plus people with no privacy. Well, I didn't see all that. You didn't show us that. You didn't show us all that stuff. Should I keep reading this? I don't know. These conditions are unsanitary, inhumane, and illegal, and ICE lied about them. Give detainees, their families, lawyers, and the public up-to-date info on who's being detained, yada, yada, facility population, demographics, so on and so forth. All right, so I'll just leave it at that. I mean, should I get into the comments? I don't know if I should get into the comments or not. I mean, I'm sure he's getting roasted. Well, I didn't realize that I commented on it. 300,000 immigrant children went missing under Biden's watch, the Democrats' watch. That's the real horror. Stop spending all your energy defending lawbreakers. Work with the good guys once in a while. Uh-huh. And he says, I'll be working toward a run in 2026 here in Colorado District 4. Yeah, whatever. Just like the Obama administration lied about Russia helping Trump in 2017. Yep. Joe, probable spam. I don't know why they do this. As a citizen of Florida, I implore you to please support the Fair Access to Banking Act as payment process. Oh, whatever. Shut the fuck up, Timu Castro. Spamming and God. Yeah, I guess that is kind of spammy. All right, let's just move on from that. So, Senator Todd Young, America needs an aggressive critical minerals strategy. China's dominance of these materials directly threatens U.S. military readiness and technological superiority. This is from the Washington Examiner.com. So in April, let's just make this a little bigger first. Okay, so in April, China restricted exports of crucial rare earth elements and magnets, which are used in everything from fighter jets and submarines to missile systems and drones. President Trump rightly drew a sharp line on China's aggressive moves, issuing an executive order designed to boost production of critical minerals here in the United States. However, policymakers must do more to break America's dependence on China for these materials, essential to our national security and economic future. Now, they did open a rare earth mineral mine in Wyoming, and I want to say they said that was like the first one or the biggest one in like 70 years. So we're working on it. Paywall. Today, China controls roughly 85% of global capacity for processing these materials, effectively monopolizing the supply chain. Even more alarming, China accounts for approximately 99% of the processing of heavy rare earth elements, the very materials most essential to advance defense technologies. Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have put ourselves in that position from the get-go. But you know what China is heavily reliant on? Food. They're very heavily reliant on food, so I mean, they kind of need food to keep their people there mining everything. But anyway, I'll still link it in the description, even though they're hiding it behind a paywall, the majority of the article. But I don't know, maybe you subscribe to the Washington Examiner. Obviously, I don't. But anyway, that's it. That's all I got. That's at the very bottom of the list. So I actually don't. Did I comment on that? Oh yeah, I did. Okay. So I said, oh yeah, that's the name of the place. Ramaco Resources has opened the first new rare earth mine in the United States in over 70 years, located in Wyoming. The mine, named the Brook Mine, is a significant development as it aims to reduce the U.S. reliance on China for rare earth elements. So it's a step. It's a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's going to produce as much rare earth minerals as we need. I'm going to go off on a limb and say it might not. But anyway, yeah, so that's all I got for this Friday evening. And I may end up doing one tomorrow. It's possible I may not. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to keep this daily show up across the weekend or not. But as of now, I might go ahead and do it. I guess it just mainly depends on if there's enough to talk about. It's usually kind of quiet in DC over the weekend. So I'll just keep an eye on social media and see if there's enough on there that's worth talking about. And if there is, then I'll drop another video tomorrow evening. So if you like the video, please give me a subscription or like the video if you so choose. I hope you do. And I'll see you next time. God bless America.